I'm Carrie Cochran. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that today will be very helpful for you. We're going to talk about the 10 ways to reduce anxiety. And to do that, I'm going to do some different things today than you've probably ever seen before, and that's my goal. I'm hopeful that we can find something new for you with what we're doing today. But I do want to give credit where credit is due because I'm building on the shoulders of giants. And so some of the ideas today will be mine, but I'm also blending several different theories together. One of them is Dan Siegel's window of tolerance. That's going to be the first half of what we're doing today. So I want to acknowledge him, although my window is going to look a little bit different than his. Hopefully he'd be okay with what I'm doing with his window. Polyvagal theory is also a theory that I'm weaving all the way through pretty much the whole talk today, but especially the first half. So you'll see some terms there. Sensory motor psychotherapy, a little shout out to them because a lot of the tools and tips that we're going to talk about in the second half are coming from their ideas. And then TBRI, which is trust-based relational intervention. I'm a practitioner in TBRI, and a lot of the ideas we're going to talk about in the second half come from TBRI. And TBRI draws a lot of their ideas from occupational therapy. So for any occupational therapists out there, I hope that I make you proud. All right, so we're going to get started. The first thing that I want to talk about is this idea of the window of tolerance. And the window of tolerance is basically right here. And I'm putting it here around my core on purpose because we tend to feel things in our core, kind of from our throat to our pelvis, a little bit in our head too. But this is my window of tolerance. So this is the area of what I can handle just fine in my day. So I'm going about my day, something happens, it's okay, it's not going to derail me. I'm in my window. That's my window of tolerance. The center of my window is where I want to be. That's where I want to stay. For today, I'm going to call that home. That's a polyvagal term. So if home is somewhat triggering for you, I am not talking about where you grew up. I'm not talking about where you currently live. Home is a feeling inside of us. It's a feeling of connection, of safety. It's a connection to our higher power if that's important to us. It's a connection to other people and to ourselves. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about home. It's not a place, it's a feeling, it's a state. So that's home. And I have a little visual. I'm a very visual person, and I think it's helpful to remember things if you get to see it. So I created this for today. This is my window of tolerance. So that's that thing right here. So here's home. Home is all of these things. So when I am home in this state where I feel good about myself, I feel compassion for others. I feel playful, curious, centered, hopeful. I feel secure, safe, joy, self-compassion, peace, cooperative. I feel humor too. Humor is woven all through here. So I laugh at things because they're genuinely funny. So that's my sense of home. This is where most of us want to be. When we're feeling sick or scared, we have that feeling of I just want to go home. We have that even if home has never been, even if home like our house has never been safe for us, we still have that feeling. That's because of this state. In polyvagal theory, it's called ventral vagal regulation, and it's just about connection. This is where we want to be. So our talk today is to try to figure out how to stay in our window of tolerance because that's where we feel good about ourselves and about others. Okay, so one other idea that we need to talk about first is the idea of neuroception. So that's a polyvagal term. It just basically means my mind and my nervous system. So that's my brain, my vagus nerve, which starts here at the base of my skull and goes down to my pelvis. Your vagus nerve is your mind-body connection. So it's the sense of your nervous system connecting to your body. And that's really important for what we're going to talk about today. So neuroception is the sense of my nervous system scanning for safety. It is always on. I'm not consciously aware of it. I'm not walking into a room thinking, am I safe or am I not safe? But my nervous system is doing that for me. So if there's something in this room that feels not safe to me, my nervous system is going to pick it up. I won't know that. I'll just feel a little off. And that's that idea of all of a sudden we just feel like, I don't feel so good anymore. I'm starting to feel a little hot and sweaty, or I'm starting to feel a little cold and clammy. I'm heading out of my window in either direction. We're going to talk about that in a second. So that's neuroception, super important because it's always working. So our vagus nerve, back to that idea, our vagus nerve is really important because it is also always working, even when we're asleep. So our vagus nerve tells us if we're safe or not. So if I am out on a walk and let's say I encounter a bear, like I see a bear in my peripheral vision here, okay? Or I'm on a walk in my neighborhood and all of a sudden a growling, snarling attack dog is starting to run at me from his yard. Or on my way here, I almost got hit by a car that I think she just didn't notice the stoplight. And so all of a sudden there's a car coming at me as I'm moving. Any of those situations is going to send me out of my window. It is more than I can bear and be just fine because I am now in danger in any of those situations. So what happens is my vagus nerve through my eyes interprets that. So bear, dog, or car. And in that moment, all of a sudden, my vagus nerve and my brain turn on together, my pituitary gland, my adrenal glands, all working together, and I am flooded with stress hormones. So for me, I usually feel them like a whoosh up like that. Other people feel like it sort of is falling down on them. Either way, that's your stress response system. It was designed to get you safe. That's why we have it. It's not our enemy, it's our friend, and it's providing information, and it's also our opportunity to get safe. So when we feel that rush, that is our fight or flight response. So I am ready to fight the bear, the dog, or it'd be hard to fight the car. So I might need to flee. That's our flight response. So I might run from the bear, run from the dog, or I'm going to swerve to avoid the car. That's a flight response. If those two work, great, I am now safe. Often those things will not work for whatever we're facing. So then my body is going to go into a freeze response. And that's where I freeze because I don't know, I'm not able to fight this and I'm not able to get away either. So I'm going to freeze. If freeze doesn't work, let's say the bear still sees me or the car's still coming, then my body may go into what's called a collapse response. And that's just a really basic response to a danger, and our vagus nerve can actually shut us down. So we're going to talk about that more in a second too. But I wanted to talk about the stress response system because it's really important. It's kind of basic for how we engage with the world, because some of us have really strong sensitive stress response systems and some of us are not really aware of what's going on. And so we tend to have all these reactions to things and we have no idea why. So this is why your stress response system is always working. Okay, so back to our window of tolerance here. When I encounter that, let's say it's a bear, a dog, or a car, if my body goes into fight or flight, it's going to go up here into hyperactivation. This is our sympathetic system. It's about protection. So I have a little more information on what that looks like. So if I'm heading up into this, what I'm noticing inside me is that I'm starting to think I have to do or be better than others. Okay, remember that sense of home? I have a lot of self-compassion there, right? I'm feeling like I'm doing okay. If I'm heading up into here, I'm heading into protect mode. I'm not feeling safe anymore, emotionally or physically. I'm driven to compete. I start to be critical of others. And I'm going to be feeling anger or fear or both. That's our fight or flight. And you're going to notice these things about me. I may be hot, like temperature hot. I'm going to start to sweat. That's a stress response. That's adrenaline going through our body. I'm going to be loud and big. I'm probably going to be shaky. That's adrenaline. My voice may be shaky. My voice is going to get a little higher pitched and tight. I don't quite sound like myself. My movements are going to be quick, maybe jerky. I'm moving around. My language is choppy because my mind is racing. So there's all these different thoughts and I'm not finishing one thought before I'm into another one. So you may not be able to understand what I'm talking about. I have lots of energy. If I was sitting, I'm not sitting anymore. Now I'm up, I'm pacing, I'm walking back and forth. I may be irrational and you can't understand what I'm talking about. I may not even understand what's going on inside me because I am out of my window, okay? Okay, so back to our fight or flight. Remember, if fight or flight doesn't work, or if I'm somebody where my past history, I didn't have a lot of options to fight or flight, those things were not safe based on my environment, mine may be more skilled at going down. And so when I go down, I'm going into hypoactivated. This is our freeze collapse response. The polyvagal term for that state is dorsovagal, and it's about disconnection. So when I am hypoactivated, I am not feeling good anymore, but also I'm not really aware of what's going on. So here's my window. As I'm heading down, I notice things like I'm never gonna measure up. I start to be really critical of myself. I don't have hope anymore, and I don't have much future thinking anymore either. That's turned off. Anytime you're out of your window, your sense of time tends to be turned off. So there's no more sense of time, and also you're not able to kind of long-term problem solve. So if I'm running from a bear, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch tomorrow. It's gone. I'm not thinking about the project I have at work. I am just thinking about my safety. So that's true here too. Dorsovagal collapse, this is about disconnect. So I'm going to be feeling fear, or the more collapsed I am, the more numb I am. I am gone down into a state where I don't even really know where I am, who I am, or what I am. You would notice these things about me. I'm cold, I'm clammy, I'm quiet, I'm probably still, I've gotten small. We tend to kind of hunch down when we're not feeling okay. My movements and my speech are going to be slow. I have a loss of language. The farther down we go into collapse, the more language that we lose. So if you're talking to me and I'm in a full collapse state, you could ask me my name. I may not be able to tell you, or I might be able to tell you my name, but I can't answer any of your other questions because I have trouble processing information and I'm confused. I'm not really sure where I am or what's been going on. I can't tell you what just happened a few minutes ago because my sense of time and my memory has been turned off. I feel like I want to fall in a hole or crawl in a hole. I'm disoriented, confused. I'm going to be sitting down. If I was standing, I'm sitting now. I might even be on the floor. I might be laying down, and I might feel faint, or a full dorsovagal response is going to be an actual faint. That's where your vagus nerve just shuts you down. It's too much. So that's a full collapse. So that could happen as well. So this is going to be somebody that we think of as shocky. So if you're helping out at an accident, this is what shock looks like. They are collapsed, emotionally collapsed. That's what's going on here. Okay, so what do we do about that? Going back to our window of tolerance, there is a lot we can do. So the farther out of our window we go, the harder it is to find our way back to home. So the beauty of my window here is that I have this little section here, and I am naming this almost. This is my almost. And what that means is that I'm home, all of a sudden something has happened. Okay, so what gets tricky here is that it's not always a bear, a dog, or a car, something really concrete. Often we get triggered by something else. So something happens in our day, and this would be a situation where I'm going about my day, I'm okay, all of a sudden I'm not okay. And I'm thinking about what just happened, and I'm realizing my reaction is much bigger than what the current circumstance should allow for, right? Something's not right. I am not okay, and really, it shouldn't have been that big a deal, or it wasn't that big a deal for somebody else, but it's a big deal for me. So what that means is I'm having a triggering event. There's 3 different kinds here. One of them is explicit. So an explicit trigger is something that I can connect with. It's something that I clearly remember. An explicit memory is a memory that my brain has stored really clearly so that I can recall it later. So I'll give you an example. This happens to us all the time. So maybe I'm in a line at a store or a bank, and I look around the person in front of me, and I realize that the staff person I'm about to meet looks exactly like somebody who hurt me in my past, okay? That's an explicit trigger. I know exactly what's going on, but I feel that same whoosh I would feel at the bear. So I feel it come up through my body or down over me, and I am in stress response now. So I am having either all of these cold, clammy if I'm down, or I'm hot, sweaty, getting bigger, pacing, loud if I'm up out of my window. Except my brain is still working because I'm in my almost, and I think to myself, wait a minute, I know what's going on here. That person looks exactly like my past person, but I know it's not. It couldn't be because they're not the same age, or that person's gone now, or whatever, right? I know it's not the same person. So if I still have access to my prefrontal cortex, I'm thinking clearly, I can talk myself out of that. I can say to myself, that's not the person. They just happen to look like them or have the same mannerisms. And then I can make some choices about how to get myself safe. Okay, that's an explicit. Those are pretty easy because we know what's going on, and so we can come up with good tools to help ourselves. Implicit are a lot harder. So that would be a situation where I'm going about my day and all of a sudden I have an experience and I'm not okay anymore. I realize I'm heading out of my window up here or down here. I don't feel good anymore. I don't feel any of these things. but I don't know why. And sometimes that can be an implicit trigger, meaning it could be a piece of a trauma memory. So there might be an explicit part of the trauma that I remember really clearly, but there's this other piece I didn't remember, but my body remembers, my sensory system. So that could be maybe a smell of something, a taste, something else that I see that's not really coded very clearly with my trauma. That's an implicit memory. The other thing that can be implicit is preverbal. So our explicit memory started about 2.5 to 3 years old. If anything that happens before that gets saved in our body as a sensory memory. So our sensory memories can get triggered, and we would have no idea where that's coming from because we don't have a conscious memory of that. So that's implicit. Implicit memories trip us up because we don't know what's happened. We're experiencing a huge response that the person next to us is not having over the same event. Those can be kind of scary and overwhelming. The other type I'm going to call overload here, and that can be just a combination. So that's just either my day, I've had 8 things happen by the time I'm on my way to lunch and now I get a speeding ticket. I'm out of my window at this point. It's more than I can bear. I can't do any more today. I'm going to probably collapse or I'm going to scream at somebody, right? The other thing that can happen is maybe we're going through a season of a lot of really hard. So maybe there's been a diagnosis someone in our family is dealing with, and then all of a sudden something big happens. 2020 is a really good example of overload. There's just been too much for most of us to bear. So we spend way more time out of our window than we normally would or that we did in 2019. So that's overload. Some seasons we just need to help ourselves a little bit more than others. All that to say, how do we help ourselves? So I have some ideas. There should be a worksheet in your journal that you can pull up, and hopefully if you have a chance to either print that out or if you're doing it digitally, that works too. This is kind of a guide for you and for me, but it's really your opportunity to start jotting down notes for things that you want to try. And I hope that this sounds a little bit fun because it should be. Getting to know ourselves and what works for us is kind of a fun journey. And so we're going to talk about that. So the first tool in our tools to decrease anxiety was just understanding our stress response system and our triggers and where things are coming from. Understanding that our body is a source of information and not our enemy is step 1. So then 2 through 10 are going to be what's on this sheet. And I'm going to walk you through them. So at the top of this sheet is getting back to, and then there's a blank. So for me, I would put getting back home on here because for me, that's the word that I use for the middle of the window. You can use any word that works for you. So going back to that, you could choose any of the words in here. Humor should be in here, and I forgot to write it in, so you could add that in. It could be a color. So I picked green because to me, green feels kind of like growth, but whatever color feels like home to you. So you could just put getting back to green or whatever color. So you just name that center of your window for yourself, whatever feels right for you. And then we're going to look through, these are some ways to do that. And so now knowing that our body is a sensory nervous system that is working in our favor to give us good information, these are things that we can do to help it to feel safe. Okay, so we're going to look at this worksheet. So the first box on your worksheet is seeing, and that's just obviously using our eyesight. So the first 5 are the 5 senses that they teach you in school. We all know what they are. We just may need a few more ideas on how to use them to help our nervous system to feel like it needs to go back into our window. So the first thing is finding pictures or videos. And I usually recommend something that's funny because when we have that feeling like we're about to laugh, so let's say I look at a picture of an animal that's just so goofy looking that I can't even believe it's real. That one's perfect. Often there's greeting cards that will just be really funny. You know, you'll have the animal with like the huge teeth or something, right? It's just hilarious. So you look at it and that feeling right before you laugh, right here, that warm kind of bubbly feeling, that feeling right before we're going to laugh, that feeling does not play well with fear. So when we feel that feeling, we give fear a break. And in giving fear the break, we're a little bit closer to our almost so that we can get back in our window. So that's our goal, is we want to give fear a break. So something funny can do that. The other thing that I recommend for some people is a sweet feeling. And what I mean by that is that feeling of, if you're looking at like really furry kittens, or maybe a pile of puppies that are climbing over each other and wrestling and playing, that feeling of, oh, like I just want to touch it. It's so cute. That sweet feeling also right in here, and it does not play well with fear. So when I feel that just sweet feeling, like I just want to touch it, it's so sweet and fun and fuzzy, fear takes a break from me, and that's my goal because I want to get back in my window and I don't want to be living in fear. So pictures and videos are great. Videos of funny animals, videos of babies doing silly things or like belly laughing, those things help get us back into our window. So having a little reservoir of those things can be really helpful, especially if you're going into a situation that you know you may not be in your window for. I do this for people who are about to fly, if flying causes a lot of anxiety for them, or if you have a coworker, a supervisor that's causing a lot of stress and you're heading into a meeting with them. Having some of these tools can be really helpful to keep you in your window so that your brain is processing all the information and that you're in control of your mood and your words and behavior. Okay, another thing for sight I'm going to walk you through really quickly is called orienting. It's a sensory motor psychotherapy technique, and I'm going to add a little layer to it. But that's the idea of, so I'm going to take my head and I'm going to turn it 180 degrees. By doing that, I'm releasing that vagus nerve back there. And then I'm going to look straight here 180 degrees and I'm just going to notice what I see. And as I do that, I'm doing this out loud. You probably wouldn't do it out loud, but I'm going to just scan my environment. And so what I'm doing is I'm moving my head, and as I do it, I see this car out the window. I see the mugs on the table around me. I see the shelves in front of me. I see the wall over here, the collide sign. And then I'm going to go back. As I go back, my brain is now more online and I'm going to notice more things. So I just notice, okay, there's the sign and the wall. Oh, there's water bottles on that shelf and there's a pillow on that shelf. There's the light and there's a plant there. I didn't notice that before. And now I'm noticing multiple cars. Okay, that's orienting. What we're doing there is that I'm orienting my body to time and space. If I am here in this room, I am not back there. I don't have to worry about back there because I am right here, and right here is safe. So that's called orienting. That can be really helpful, especially if you're heading down into collapse. Okay, hearing. Our sense of hearing is really important. Music is a big one, so figuring out what music works for you is really helpful. For people that tend to be more hyperactivated, I would say find things that are more melodic. Maybe some like slow piano music or lullabies would be good. Might be things that you wouldn't normally listen to, but when you're hyperactivated, you're looking for something to calm your nervous system. If I'm more of somebody who tends to collapse, I want something with a beat. So I'm looking maybe for some dance music. If I am somebody who hates 80s music, this actually might be the moment when it would be helpful because there tends to be a beat. For a lot of people, there's a little nostalgia there too. That's going to help. We're looking for something that's going to wake us up and bring us back into our window if we're collapsed. Let's see. Oh, voice. There's one other thing I wanted to mention on here is that thinking about if you have anybody in your life that tends to be kind of a window person for you, a home person. So this would be somebody that it's your call. Like if I'm feeling really dysregulated and not good, and I know that if I make this call, this person will help me. That's a home person. So having that person just leave you a voicemail, I usually advise maybe having them say 5 or 6 things that they appreciate about you on there. Now you've got it. So in the middle of the night, if you need to hear their voice, you've got it on your phone. We can also do this for ourselves. So if you don't have a lot of those people in your life, it's actually even better for you to do it for yourself. So you just leave yourself a message and say 5 or 6 things that you know that you would want to remember when you're when you're out of your window. So hyperactivated or hypoactivated. What would I want to be reminded of in that moment? And you leave that on your message. So people that are important to you, goals that you have, how much you've conquered in the past, things like that can be really helpful. Do it for yourself. And then meditation sounds. Some people really respond to water sounds or birds or the rustling of leaves. A lot of nature sounds tend to be calming for people. Those can be helpful too. Okay, now we're moving on to touch. Touch is fun. So touch is finding things that are interesting or comforting. Some people like soft and fuzzy, something you can squish. Other people like something solid and hard or maybe a little texture. I like to find stuff that's kind of pocket sized. You can have it with you. A little rock can be really helpful, or a squishy toy in your pocket that nobody knows about can be really helpful. Also thinking about temperature. If I'm hyperactivated, remember I'm hot and pretty sweaty. So a cold washcloth right here or at the back of my head down here on my neck can be really comforting and can kind of bring me back down. If I'm hypoactivated, I'd probably do maybe a warm washcloth, because remember, I'm cold and clammy and I'm having trouble conserving energy. So a little heat here or here could also help bring me up. So think about temperature. And pets. Pets are great for so many things, but for touch, it's just stroking their fur, their hair tends to be calming for us. So find your pet or find your neighbor's pet. Um, Taste. Taste is one of the senses that is immediate. It is almost faster than just about anything else. And so taste is really important. For taste, I usually recommend something that's got, if you're somebody who collapses a lot, you want something with some sharp flavor. So something sour maybe. I'm thinking peppermint, cinnamon, something that has a bit of a wake up to it. If I tend to be hyperactivated, I'm gonna want something a little softer, maybe like a soft lemon or butterscotch, something like that, that will help just calm me and help me feel a little bit more centered. Um, Gum is really helpful. Gum actually combines taste and proprioceptive that we'll get to in a minute. So there's two senses going on there. So gum can be really, really helpful for hypoactivation and hyperactivation. A cold or a warm drink, again, remember temperature. So if I'm hyperactivated, I'm hot, a cold drink of water can bring me back almost faster than anything can. If I'm hypoactivated, maybe a warm drink, something I can kind of put my hands around and feel the warmth, that's going to be comforting to me and may be able to bring me back online. Smell is very personal. So that's just finding things that are comforting to you. What smells like home to you? It may be something that's like kind of beachy. It might be something that's more flowers, and or it might be something like fall. Fall tends to be a really comforting season for a lot of people, and there's a lot of fall scents. So sometimes that can be helpful. Um, okay, now we're getting to the two senses that they don't teach you in school. At least they didn't used to. They're starting to now. The first one is vestibular. So vestibular is our sense of movement. So our vestibular sense is our inner ear speaking to our brain and our nervous system. So it's where is my head in space, really? And vestibular can be really helpful, especially if you're in your almost heading down to hypoactivation collapse. Vestibular can be helpful for bringing us back up. It wakes us up. It turns on parts of our brains that are starting to be turned off as we're collapsing. So that would be dancing. Add a little music, and now you have your sense of hearing involved as well, which is even better. A lot of sports are vestibular, especially if you think of something that has patterning. So that would be like cycling or swimming, something that is using our whole body and movements. Rocking back and forth, side to side. You can try this with me. Find out which one is more comforting to you. Spinning with kids, we do spin three to five times in one direction, stop, get your bearings, 3 to 5 times in the other, stop and get your bearings. That can bring you out of collapse almost faster than anything else. Also, if it feels a little bit silly, like I can't believe I'm doing this, I feel like a kid again, perfect. Because remember what my home felt like? It was playful, it was curious, it was all those feelings we feel like when we're a kid. Humor is in there too. So if I'm feeling like I can't believe I'm doing this, I'm really gonna skip down the sidewalk, I'm actually helping my brain just with the silliness of it. So that's perfect. The next one is proprioceptive. Proprioceptive is really, really important in lots of different ways. Proprioceptive is my sense of my body and space. It's all of me. Our proprioceptive sense comes from our muscles and our joints. So there's a lot of things we can do with our muscles and our joints that help us bring ourselves back in line, especially if we're hyperactivated. If I'm hyperactivated, remember, I'm big, I'm loud, I'm taking up a lot of space. So proprioceptive helps us remember where we are in space. This is me and this is you. And so things that we can do to help us do that would be things like calming pressure. So that would be a weighted blanket. If your heart is racing, which can happen both hyper and hypo, just putting your hand over your heart for a second can help calm. You could even do like a circular motion here. Pushing, pulling, weightlifting, yard work. You may know somebody who gets really upset and then they go do a bunch of work outside. It's proprioceptive. They're actually calming their brain by doing that. It's the big muscle energy. Another one you can do is a self-hug. If you have somebody to hug you, even better, but we can do this on our own. And sometimes we don't want someone else to touch us when we're upset, so we can touch ourselves. So that's, I'm putting pressure here on my arms and I'm squeezing in. So what I'm doing here, especially if I'm hyperactivated, this helps me bring back a sense of me. So I'm here, I'm solid, this is me, I'm not out there, I'm here. That's called a self-hug. The other one that I love, because this works for hypo and hypo, is a brain hug. And so what that is, so try this with me because it's really important. So you put your hand over your forehead here. This is your prefrontal cortex. This is going offline if you're going down or up out of your window. And then you take your other hand and put it on the back of your head here at your brainstem. And then you're going to squeeze your hands together. And as you do that, there's pressure points both here and here, but I'm basically, we call it hugging our brain. This is a TBRI exercise. But really what I'm doing is I'm reminding myself of who I am. This is all of me. This is my thinking brain and my feeling brain. I am all here. So that's a brain hug. That can help with tension headaches too, because those are stress related. So let's see, another thing, joint compression. So this is a occupational therapy exercise that we would do for somebody else, but we can do it for ourselves. So it's just the idea. So here's a big joint here. So I'm going to take my hand just underneath this joint and I'm going to push into the joint 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Joint here, underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wrist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knuckles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to go down my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then I would do it on the other side. So that's called joint compressions. You're basically just kind of speaking to your joints. I'm here, I'm safe, I'm not running from a predator. Okay, the next one is action. This is one that I added, and this is really just putting some things together. So a good example of that would be a walk outside. If I'm in a meeting and I'm starting to feel that feeling that I know I'm heading out of my window, so I'm starting to feel trapped, kind of hot or cold, my legs starting to go because I wish I could run out, I'm starting to feel trapped and claustrophobic, the best thing I might be able to do for myself is to get up and walk outside and just walk outside for a minute. Doesn't matter where I am, if I'm in a forest or I'm on the side of the road. It's just changing the scenery. So I'm changing all of my senses as I do that. I've got a little proprioceptive and vestibular as I'm walking. I can hear something different than in the meeting. So I've got my ear, I'm smelling something different. Doesn't matter if it's wet leaves or if it's pollution. I'm just smelling something different than in the meeting. Whatever was triggering me there is not here. I am now okay. And if I can get myself back online, I may even be able to go back into that meeting and handle it okay. A couple other ones would be throwing. Throwing is a great proprioceptive. So that would be going out. I don't even have to have anything to throw. I just pretend I've got a big baseball or softball in my hand, and I'm just gonna throw it as hard as I can. I can add an emotional component to that. If I know what I'm upset by, I just get it away from me. So I think about, okay, I've got something in my hand. Betrayal, get it away from me, right? Or workload, whatever it is that I am mad about, I just get it away from me. This works really well for hyperactivated people because I'm just getting it away from me. Okay, a strong sit and strong stand. These are sensory motor and really helpful for hypoactivation. So if I am collapsing, watch what's happening in my body. I'm going down into myself. If you see somebody sitting like this, you know they're collapsed. They are not hyperactivated. They are definitely collapsed. So if I'm collapsed, this is how, so you see somebody who's in a meeting who's just, they're gone. They're not even processing anymore. We'll see kids pull their sweatshirt up, right, and sit like this. That's a collapse. And so if I'm trying to bring myself out of it, I'm going to bring myself out of it. It's called a strong sit. And what I do is I'm just gonna pull myself up. So watch what's happening in my body as I do that. And I'm gonna try to get myself 2 inches taller. So I'm lifting my head up here. Okay, so try that with me and notice what happens in your body as you do it. So here I'm collapsed, and then now I'm lifting my back. My vagus nerve is now clearing out. As I do that, my chest is rising. I can take in more air. My breath is not shallow anymore. I'm also, after I'm up, if I take a big breath, I'm getting a ton of oxygen up to my brain, and that's gonna bring my brain back online as well. So that's a strong sit. You can also do it as a stand. If I'm really collapsed, I'm gonna wanna start with sit. I'm not ready to stand. If I do a strong sit, I'm not feeling better. All of a sudden, I'm like, whew, I feel stronger. Like, I can do this. Okay, it's not that bad. I might try a strong stand. And so what I would do is I would just stand up and do the same thing. So I'm gonna plant my feet under my hips, and I'm gonna stand up 2 inches taller, maybe put my hands on my hips here. And now I'm feeling strong. I can do this. It's not as bad as I thought. I'm here and I'm safe. Okay, that's a strong stand. Thoughts is our last one. It doesn't mean that it's the least. It just means that thoughts tend to work best if we're in our almost. If I am already out, either up or down, thoughts don't work as well. Our cognitive tools don't tend to work as well. If we're in almost, they still work. So we want to grab those when we can. But that would be things like thought stopping and replacement thoughts. So if I have a thought that tends to collapse me or send me hyperactivated, I notice that thought, I'm like, no, go, or stop or go. I like go because I don't really want that thought here anymore. I want it gone. And then a replacement thought is, what am I going to replace it with? So that would be something like a mantra. It would be maybe a quote that's meaningful to me, a scripture, something that speaks truth to what that thought was. So it could be something like, this too shall pass, or I'm not alone, God is always with me. Something really easy to remember. Having that mantra pasted on a little piece of paper, like on the visor of my car, or my bathroom mirror, maybe in my bag that I can see when I need it. Just looking at that can help remind me of what I know is true. What I know is true is home. I'm trying to get back home. Okay, again, also affirmations. So these are things that I know are true about myself, are the things that I like about myself when I am in my home, or reminders we talked about when you're leaving the voicemail for yourself, things that you want to be reminded of. Okay, so at this point, that's a lot of information. Where do you start? So I would say two things. One of them maybe is just play detective on yourself over this next week. Just start to notice. Where are the places that you tend to start feeling not okay? Are they locations? Are they moods? Are they people that you're around? Start noticing what are those things that send you out of your window. And it may be something that surprises you. One of my boys and I are really sensitive to different lights. So I notice sometimes if I'm in a store that uses that kind of light, I start to feel a little shaky. I'm going out of my window. So notice those things. That's really important to know yourself well. If you have a coworker that just tends to send you out of your window, then you may want to plan for that. If you're going to be spending a lot of time with them that day, have some tools with you. And then the second, so know yourself well, and then also start practicing some of the sensory tools that we talked about. See what you like, because then once you know yourself and what you're going to need, you have ideas to start building a little toolbox so that you have things with you, or you have ideas. Maybe write them down on a little card, because you know if you're heading into your almost, you're not going to remember everything. Your memory's a little bit impaired. So write down the things that you know are helpful to you and have them with you. The other thing that I've noticed as I've talked through this with people is that often people will start looking at this window and noticing, gosh, I don't remember the last time I had that feeling of home. Like, I think I spend most of my time out of my window. I hear that a lot. And that's okay. That's like the first step, is just noticing that about yourself. It's probably why you haven't been feeling good lately. That would be my guess. So I would say if that's you, the best thing to notice is to just notice that first, and then we can talk about ways to get help for that. There's lots of ideas. I know that I'm biased, but one of them is counseling. There are a lot of gifted counselors that can help you find your way back home. If you know the explicit, so those memories, those triggers that are really bothering you, you have a lot of dreams about them or flashbacks, things like that, there are types of therapy that are really good at processing and dealing and healing those things. The more healing we have, the bigger our window gets. So our circumstances and trauma shrink our window. So some people have really big windows, they can handle a lot. Some people have really little windows and there's not much home in there. They spend most of their time out. We can actually grow our window. So that's with healing. If you have been involved in recovery at some point and maybe you're not as involved anymore, get back on board. That's your home. That's your place of connection. It's your place of security. It's getting back to who you know you were supposed to be. Recovery is really important for us. I would say spiritual connection too, figuring out, what did you used to do that was meaningful for you? And if you've never had any, find some. There's lots of opportunities to grow spiritually. And our spiritual sense, I believe, is part of that home feeling too. Also, spend some more time with home people. So who are those people in your life that give you that sense of home? Who encourages you? Who speaks life into you? Who reminds you of who you are when you've forgotten? Those are home people. Spend more time with them. Maybe that's a piece that's been missing in your life. If you don't have a lot of those people, let's find them. They're out there. You just may not have had access to them. So let's find those places where those people are. Collide is a great place to start, but where you are in your community, I'm sure that there are great places for that as well. And you can find those people and grow your window with other people, the connection that you have with them. Make changes to reduce triggers. If you are noticing a lot of the kinds of triggers in your life that are sending you out of your window, is there something that you can change? Is there something you can change in your circumstances or your routine that would help reduce those triggers and grow your window? That might be something to consider. And then the last thing I would say is self care. And I know there's going to be another topic for self care, so you're going to dive into that. But grab those tools and bring them into what we've talked about today, because ongoing self care also builds our window. It's how we spend more time. It reduces that overload that we talked about and helps us stay in our window. So thank you very much for going on this journey with me, and I wish you the best in growing your window.